Hey guys, Ms. Rupa here and welcome. We are going to wrap up our study of space this week. We've been talking about the solar system, galaxies, and planets. So we're going to wrap that up with the final planets that make up our solar system. But let's take a quick minute to just review. We talked about our sun. We talked about the 4 planets that make up the inner planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Now, before you start jumping into the outer planets, it's important to know that there is an asteroid belt out in space that separates the inner planets from the outer planets. The asteroid belt is made up of large chunks of rocks that are kind of floating in between these two groups of planets. So when you look at the solar system, be sure to look for that belt of asteroids, okay? Super, super neat. The first planet of the outer planets is known as Jupiter. Of course, when you think of Jupiter, you think of that great red spot, you think of those swirling gases. It is just an absolutely beautiful planet. So let's learn some facts. It is the 5th planet from the sun. It is the largest planet in our solar system. Those swirly stripes that you see when you look at a picture of Jupiter are actually clouds of ammonia and water. Very, very cool. So that gas, ammonia, and that water swirling together to make that beautiful planet. When you think of Jupiter, you think of that red spot. The Great Red Spot is actually a giant storm that has been happening and going on Jupiter for hundreds of years. Big fact, Jupiter has a ton of moons. So while Earth has 1, Mars has 2, Jupiter has 75 moons. Can you imagine looking out into the night sky and seeing 75 moons? Crazy to think about. Jupiter also has a very faint ring system. Think about rings, okay? Because we're gonna meet a planet here in just a minute that has a very prominent ring system that you know of, okay? But there are other planets that have rings as well, and Jupiter is one of them. The next planet we're gonna mention is Saturn, okay? And Saturn is the 6th planet from the sun, my favorite. It is the 2nd largest planet in our solar system, and this planet, Saturn, has a very large, grand ring system made up of chunks and ice. So when you see Saturn and you see those beautiful rings, you know exactly what you're looking at, okay? Saturn is made up of 2 gases called hydrogen and helium. And I'm gonna pause here for just a second and let you know a fun fact. Jupiter and Saturn are known as gas giants. They are both made up of different kinds of gases, okay? The next 2 planets that we're gonna talk about are not made up of gases, but they are made up of ice. So just remember, Jupiter, Saturn, gas giants. Okay. The next planet that we're going to talk about is called Uranus, and Uranus is also known as a sideways planet. So take the planets, they're usually spinning like this, turn Uranus over and he is spinning just like this. So Uranus is spinning on a different kind of axis, it's spinning sideways. It was actually the first planet found using a telescope, okay? Uranus and our next friend that we're gonna meet are called ice giants. They are completely made up of huge chunks of ice. Uranus has 27 moons, and it actually also has a ring system, but it is not near as prominent as Saturn would be. Methane gas makes up Neptune, and what's fun about this is that if you look at a picture of Uranus and Neptune, you will see that they are both kind of a bluish color. That bluish color is due to that gas, methane, okay? The next planet that we're gonna talk about, Neptune, it also has a bluish tint, and that is because of the methane gas. It is dark, cold, and the windiest planet in our solar system, Neptune. And it is also an ice giant. It is the 8th planet from the sun, and it actually has rings as well, 6 rings. Again, not very prominent, but it does. I think it's so cool that there are other planets that have rings as well. So that kind of concludes our outer planet lesson. And I can't not talk about the planets without mentioning our dear friend Pluto. Pluto has kind of gone from a planet to not being a planet to being a planet again. but it will always be a planet to me. It is a dwarf planet. It is a very small planet, and when I was growing up and learning about the planets, it was the 9th planet. And so I will never not mention it. It is a very small planet. It is a dwarf planet. It is the farthest one away from our sun, and apparently now it is not a planet, but it is known as just a dwarf planet. So it's kind of hanging out there at the end of our solar system, farthest planet away from our sun. I just have to mention it. Sweet little Pluto at the end. So again, I hope you've enjoyed our videos this week, learning about what space is, learning about the inner planets, and now we have learned about the outer planets. I hope you'll join me next week when we talk about astronauts, rockets, and other space topics. I'll see you guys later.